Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiki. We're continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Text number 25 onwards. So Shukdev Goswami is further speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. Gatim jigishata pado ruruhate abikamikam padbhyam yajya swayam avyam karma bhi kriyate nribhi. Thereupon, because of his desiring to control movement, his legs became manifested. And from the legs, a controlling deity named Vishnu was generated. By his personal supervision of this act, all varieties of human beings are easily engaged in dutiful occupational sacrifice. Every human being is engaged in his particular occupation duty, and such activities are visible as men go hither and thither. This is very prominently visible in big cities of the world. People are going all over the cities with great concern from one place to another. This movement is not limited only to the cities, but is also visible outside the cities from one place to another, or from one city to another, or by different means of vehicles. Men are moving by cars and rails and roads, on the roads, by subways within the earth, and by planes in the sky for the purpose of business success. But in all these movements, the real purpose is to earn wealth for comfortable life. For this comfortable life, the scientist is engaged, the artist is engaged, the engineer is engaged, the technician is engaged, all in different branches of human activity. But they do not know how to make the activities purposeful to fulfill the mission of human life. Because they do not know this secret, all their activities are targeted towards the goal of sense gratification without control. And therefore, by all this business, they are unknowingly entering into the deep regions of darkness. So the legs, after the hands, then the legs were generated. Legs were generated to movement, for the movement, for going here and there. But the real purpose of the legs is just like Ambrish Maharaj. He had used all his senses in the service of the Lord. The legs he used in going to the temple of the Lord. But how the human beings use legs? Prabhupada is nicely explaining. Everybody is just running around, going from one place to another, one city to another, one country to another. And the idea is what? To make money. And why make money? To have a comfortable life. Ultimately to have sense gratification. So the legs are used for that purpose. And men are running. So one can say, oh, I don't go here and there, I go by car, or I go by train, or I take the flight, but it's the same process. The purpose is the same. Prabhupada once went to the factory, either it was a factory or the showroom of Ford cars. And the manager was showing him the new cars, and this car is run so fast, and this car runs so fast. And here the standard is to go from 0 to 60 miles an hour speed in whatever. The lesser the time it takes, the greater the car or the greater the engine is considered. So he was showing, oh, this car goes 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, and this car goes 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, or something like that. I don't know the exact figures, but it was, you understand the principle. So Prabhupada kept listening, and then Prabhupada I don't know if he told the manager, if he told the disciples. He said, dog is running on four legs and the man is running on these four wheels. What's the difference? They just don't know why, what is the real goal of running. They're just running. Dog is also running to get something for his sense gratification, and man is also running so fast to get something. What's the difference? And actually, if you look at it, there's hardly any difference. Just see all the traffic in Delhi. People are crazily running 24 hours a day. We can see the traffic 24 hours in Delhi, whether it's in metro, whether it is on the roads, everywhere. People are running, whether the trains, they're packed. Everybody's running here and there. For what? Just to make money. And make money for what? For comfortable living. But you're going through so much of uncomfort of running around. If you go to Mumbai, I was in Mumbai recently, and I couldn't even dare get on the subway, local trains. But people are packed in those local trains, just like vegetables there. They're there, really packed. Whether it's rain or whether it's summertime, it's so hot. Everybody's sweating, and everybody's packed. Why? Just to make some money. But this has become our real business of life, real goal of life. And Prabhupada further writes, because they have been captivated by the external energy of the Supreme Lord, they have completely forgotten the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. And thus they have taken it for granted that this life, as presently manifested under the conditions of material nature, is all in all for enjoying the highest amount of sense gratification. But such a wrong conception of life cannot give anyone the desired peace of mind. And thus, in spite of all advancement and knowledge, by use of the resources of nature, no one is happy in this material civilization. The secret is that at every step they should try to execute sacrifices towards the path of world peace. So that secret is missing. So we have to try to execute sacrifices towards the path of world peace. And what is a real peace? If we bring Krishna to the center. And Krishna says, just hear from me how one can attain the highest perfection in life, simply by discharging his specified occupational duty. Man can attain the highest perfection of life by worshipping the Supreme Lord and by performing sacrifice for the sake of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is all-pervading and by whose control every living being acquires his desired facilities according to his personal propensity. So it's by performing sacrifice for the sake of Vishnu, one attains everything that is required to get desired facilities. There is no harm in having different propensities in life because every human being is proportionately independent to chalk out the plan of his life by different occupations. But one should make it a point in his life to know perfectly well that he is not independent absolutely. One is certainly under the control of the Supreme Lord and under different agencies. Knowing this, one should make it a point that by his work and the result of his labor, he serves the Supreme Lord as prescribed by the authorities expert in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. For performing such occupational duties of life, the leg is the most important instrument of the body, because without the help of the legs, one cannot move from one place to another. And therefore, the Lord has special control over the legs of all human beings, which are meant for performing yajnas. If when we were studying the universal form of the Lord, the description, Over there it is said the Shudras are compared, or the Shudras stay at the legs of the universal form. So Brahmins are the head, Kshatriyas are the arms, Vaishyas are the waist or middle portion, abdomen, and the Shudras are the legs. So somebody might think the legs are not important. But here, if you look at Lord Vishnu himself manifests to control legs. Why? Because the legs are very important. And Prabhupada is saying, most important instrument of the body, because without the help of the legs, one cannot move from one place to another. So even if one has a very solid head and very powerful arms and very strong waist or abdomen, but no legs, where will he go? What he will do? Of course, now we can say, oh, we have discovered the wheelchair, you can have a wheelchair. But wheelchair is just extension of legs, that's what it is. Or replacement of legs. So somehow artificially we can discover, or we can provide wheelchair. But we should understand the principle that legs are very important. Of course, one can say without the legs a person can live. Yes, he can live. But without the head, he cannot live at all. So Brahmins are also important. Kshatriya is also important. Shudra is also important. There's no such thing as not important part of the body. But the legs are required for the person to go from one place to another. Without him being movable, mobile, how is he going to perform the rest of the activities? Not possible. And how we are using the legs, that we have to see. Text 26. Nirbhidyat shishno ve prajanandam vitartina upastasita kamanam priyam tadubhyashrayam. Thereupon, for sexual pleasure, begetting offspring, and tasting heavenly nectar, the Lord developed the genitals, and thus there is a genital organ and its controlling deity, the Prajapati. The object of sexual pleasure and the controlling deity are under the control of the genitals of the Lord. The heavenly pleasure for the conditioned soul is sexual pleasure, and this pleasure is tasted by the genitals. The woman is the object of sexual pleasure, and both the sense perception of sexual pleasure and the woman are controlled by the Prajapati, who is under the control of the Lord's genitals. The impersonalist must know from this verse that the Lord is not impersonal, for he has his genitals, on which all the pleasurable objects of sex depend. No one would have taken the trouble to maintain children if there were no taste of heavenly nectar by means of sexual intercourse. This material world is created to give the conditioned souls a chance for rejuvenation, for going back home, back to Godhead. And therefore, generation of the living beings is necessary for upkeep of the purpose of creation. Sexual pleasure is an impetus for such action, and as such, one can even serve the Lord in the art of such sexual pleasure. The service is counted when the children born of such sexual pleasure are properly trained in God consciousness. So see, everything, every activity, every part of our body can be used in the service of the Lord. Like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, although he was a Naistik Brahmachari, he said once that I'm ready to produce hundreds of offsprings. Only thing is, if I'm sure that I can make them all God conscious or Krishna conscious. So the purpose is to not to stop the procreation. The purpose is to have the offspring who we can train to become Krishna conscious. But for that purpose, one has to become Krishna conscious himself. So parents have to first become devotees, and then they can expect, or at least train their offspring, train their children to become devotees of the Lord. And in that way, at least show them how to uh, how to proceed, how to make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead. So that is the most important duty or responsibility of a parent, of a mother or a father. Of course, at the same time, one has to try to give him proper education and proper facility, proper environment for him to be successful materially as well. To give him proper education so that he or she can have a proper career or future. But at the same time, one has to be able to give the children Krishna consciousness. It's very important. Of course, the parents cannot guarantee the progress or cannot guarantee that this boy or girl will become pure devotee of the Lord. That's not practical, not possible. But as much as possible, one should try. One can beget hundreds of children and enjoy the celestial pleasure of sexual intercourse, provided he is able to train the children in God consciousness. Otherwise, begetting children is on the level of the swine or a pig. Rather, the swine is more expert than the human being because the swine can beget a dozen piglets at a time, whereas a human being can give birth to only one or maybe two at a time. So one should always remember that the genitals, sexual pleasure, the women, and the offspring are all related in the service of the Lord. And one who forgets this relationship in the service of the Supreme Lord becomes subjected to the threefold miseries of material existence by the laws of nature. Perception of sexual pleasure is there even in the body of the dog, but there is no sense of God consciousness. The human form of life is distinct from that of the dog by the perception of God consciousness. So that is what is more important, God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. So to have children is not wrong. One can have many children, but one has to try to make them God conscious. So Prabhupada is saying rather the swine is more expert than the human being in producing kids. That he can have dozens of piglets at a time. And in fact, they are also considered more expert because they don't even go through abortion. A human being, since they are more intelligent, they go through abortion because kids are considered obstacles in the sense gratification, especially the sexual sense gratification. So why have kids? Why not go through abortion or use contraceptives or some other different means? But the idea is not that. Idea is to engage ourselves in service of Krishna, and the idea is to engage our kids also in the service of Krishna as much as possible. Text 27. उत्सिश्रिक्षोर्धातुमलं निर्भिद्यत वैकुदं ततः पायुस्ततो मित्र उत्सर्ग उभयाश्रयः. Thereafter, when he desired to evacuate the refuse of eatables, the evacuating hole, anus, and the sensory organ thereof developed along with the controlling deity, Mitra. The sensory organ and the evacuating substance are both under the shelter of the controlling deity. Even in the matter of evacuating stool, the refuse is controlled. So how can the living entity claim to be independent? So we are not at all independent. Every part of our body is controlled. Every single part. Even the evacuation. Of course, these days more people have this constipation problem than we can even think of because of our eating habits are so improper, unregulated. So many people go through the constipation problem. Why? Because everything is controlled and nothing is in our control. That whenever I want, I can go and evacuate, and whatever I've eaten, I can. It doesn't happen like that. And because of the constipation problem, people have so many diseases. Because if the refuse is not taken out properly at the proper time, in the proper amount, it will it'll create problem in the body. And there's so many problems, so many diseases because of that. आशिषुप्सु पुरा पुरया नाभिद्वारमपानतः तत्रापानस्ततो मृत्युः पृथक्त्वम् उभयाश्रयम्. Thereafter, when he desired to move from one body to another, the navel and the air of departure and death were combinedly created. The navel is the shelter for both, namely death and the separating force. The prana vayu continues the life, and the apana vayu stops the living force. Both the vibrations are generated from the abdominal hole, the navel. This navel is a point from one body, is a joint from one body to another. Lord Brahma was born of the abdominal hole of Garbhodaksha Vishnu as a separate body. And the same principle is followed even in the birth of any ordinary body. The body of the child develops from the body of the mother. And when the child is separated from the body of the mother, it is separated by cutting the navel joint or that umbilical cord which is connected to the navel. And that is the way the Supreme Lord manifested himself as separated many. The living entities are therefore separated parts, and thus they have no independence. So we are all controlled, we are all dependent on the Supreme Lord for everything. Adit Soran Pananam Asan Kukshanti Nadayaha Nadyaha Samudrashcha Tayos Pushti Stadashvaya. When there was a desire to have food and drink, the abdomen and the intestines and also the arteries became manifested. The rivers and the seas are the source of the sustenance and metabolism. The controlling deities of the intestines are the rivers, and those of the arteries, the seas. Fulfillment of the belly with food and drink is a cause of sustenance, and the metabolism of the food and drink replaces the wastes of the bodily energies. Therefore, the body's health is dependent on healthy actions of the intestines and the arteries. The rivers and the seas, being the controlling deities of the two, keep the intestines and the arteries in healthy order. So there's a scientific connection between the rivers and the seas and the arteries and the intestines. In fact, later on, I think in third canto, it appears that Prabhupada does write about if somebody has stomach issues, stomach problems, or the digestion is not proper, or some other stomach ailments, then one should go stand in the sea water up to waist, and that the sea water, because that is the controlling deity for the abdomen, it fixes the abdomen. So something like that appears in third canto. See, it's so amazing how much knowledge Prabhupada had. Not just talking about Radha Krishna and the internal pastimes. He talks about so much of other stuff that is important for to keep our body healthy so we can perform our bhakti properly. Nididhyasoratma mayam hridayam nirabhidyata tato manaschandrati sankalpa kamevacha. When there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon, determination, and all desire became manifested. The heart of every living entity is a seat of the Super Soul Paramatma, a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without his presence, this living entity cannot get into the working energy according to his past deeds. The living entities who are conditioned in the material world are manifested in the creation in terms of respective inclinations inherent in them. And the requisite material body is offered to such each and every one of them by the material energy under the direction of the Super Soul. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. When therefore the Super Soul is situated in the heart of the conditioned soul, the requisite mind is manifested in the conditioned soul, and he becomes conscious of his occupation, as one is conscious of his duty after waking up from slumber. Therefore, the material mind of the living entity develops when the supersoul sits on his heart, after which the mind, the controlling deity, and then the activities of the mind, namely thinking, feeling, willing, all take place. The activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart. And the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation. So after the abdomen and the intestines and the arteries they develop, then the mind, the heart, or the seat of the mind, all these desires, determination and all desire, they become manifested. And the super soul also sits over there in the heart. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you talked about umbilical cord, which gets
Mhm.
should be cut off when the kid was born and after some days, and then when the person dies during the cremation, also it has been it's evident that that the umbilical cord doesn't get burned; it's still there, right? So, what is it? Is it like you also talked about apan vayu and pran vayu? So, can you please explain it in short, like why is it so?
What, the umbilical cord or the pran and apan?
Yes. Yeah, umbilical cord, probably.
I don't know about that. It doesn't get burnt or it remains. I don't know about that part. Maybe somebody can explain it better. Pran and apan vayu, I know is pran vayu is the one that we inhale and apan is what we exhale. And there's so many um, other airs also. That's explained better when this yoga or hatha yoga, ashtanga yoga is explained in those chapters. I don't exactly remember all the 8 kinds of pranas or airs, life airs in the body. Prabhupada has explained that. Uh, but these two are important, prana and apan, that I know. But it's all the what Prabhupada is saying, it's all connected with life and death, the navel. That's where it all happens.
Yes. And
That's
one
all.
more thing, Prabhuji, on
Yes.
astral cord also there is a term astral cord. When the person
Hmm.
dies, the astral there's a detachment from which
Hmm.
is actually astral cord is the connection between the soul and the physical body. So,
Hmm.
and there are a lot of explanation in videos that astral cord is actually connects the soul with the physical body, and after the death, it just detaches the soul because it gets cut and the soul is detached from the physical body. So, is that also exists somewhere astral cord in the body?
That I studied when I was studying pranic healing. There are 3 chords. Um, one is connected to the mind. One is from the soul or above, up above, like maybe super soul, we can say. One is connected to the physical body. One is connected to the heart, I believe. I have to study those texts again. So there are 3 chords. One is astral chord, what you're saying. And at the time of death, all the 3 chords they get disconnected, and then the soul is ready to leave, to go to the next body. And in pranic healing, um, if somebody, like it is said, if somebody has difficulty in living, means difficulty in dying, and to help that soul leave the body and not go through so much of pain, the healers can try, and by invoking the blessings and mercy of spiritual master, then they can try to cut those cords so that the soul is ready to leave. It's not like they're interfering in any karma, but they just want to help the soul. So yes, those three cords are what it keeps the soul in the body, connected with the body.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Well,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. It's amazing to know Prabhuji there's controlling deity for everything. The legs and
oh
including
yeah,
movement of stool also. In fact, this is something that we never knew. And that is why, in fact, you rightly said, so many people have disorders, disease, which kind of takes birth from stomach itself, indigestion or anything.
yep.
So now we know how to, perhaps sometimes later offline, Prabhuji, I'll check with you how to kind of please the deity to have a good digestion and stomach functioning.
That Prabhupada explained that you go to the sea and stand in the sea water to waist high if there are any stomach problems.
Wow, fantastic. I'll check with you again, Prabhuji. And thank you so much, Prabhuji. Last
Or
2-3 days, in fact, very nice real life examples that you have been sharing actually makes things so much easier to
thank you,
understand the
Prabhu.
concept.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
And the last point, what you said, what Prabhu said, that I didn't hear for Pramod Gandhi Prabhu's question.
Oh, for no, I was just explaining again that for any stomach problems, one Prabhupada explained in one purport that one should go stand in the sea water waist high.
See what else?
Sea water.
Okay. Because
So that's why when we go to Jagannath Puri, we can
Right.
stand in the sea water, fix our stomach, and then eat lots of Mahaprasad. And
Haribo.
everything gets digested properly.
And now I know the secret why you eat there.
And why I play in the sea water.
Anybody going to Rath Yatra this year? You know anybody is going?
I hope you all go. If not the 4th July on the return Rath Yatra, you all can go and attend.
Forgive me.
And Prabhuji, is there any kind of worshipping schedule to worship the Lord Mitra, the controlling deity of constipation and all?
No, he's not the controlling deity of constipation. He's controlling deity of anus. Um, um, but our thing is you worship Krishna, just chant Hare Krishna, and everybody is worshipped. Everybody is taken care of.
True, Prabhuji.
But if there are any stomach problems, then you can pray to Krishna or just say wherever is deity Mitra, please become good Mitra, please become good friend of mine.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.